Ever wondered why people keep asking for a list of 20 ideas, 20 headlines, 20 product features? It's oddly specific and somehow feels manageable. Today, we dig into why 20 works, how to generate a meaningful list of 20 fast, and what to do with those ideas once you have them. Ready?
Absolutely. That specificity matters more than you think. 20 is long enough to escape the obvious, but short enough to stay focused. It forces variety without chaos. But let's start with a quick scene. Imagine you need 20 blog post ideas in an hour. Where do you begin?
I'd panic, honestly. Then I'd try to force it and get stuck in the same 5 angles. So what's the first mental trick to break that loop?
Treat it like mining, not planting. Start broad and then refine. Use 3 quick layers: categories, audience needs, and surprising twists. For example, pick 4 categories. Give each 5 ideas. Boom, 20. The categories could be formats, problems, case studies, and myths.
I like that. So categories give structure. But how do you pick categories that actually produce useful ideas instead of filler?
Pick them based on decision triggers. Formats answer how. List, tutorial, interview. Problems answer what pain. Case studies answer who succeeded. Myths answer what people believe but shouldn't. When you design around these triggers, the ideas speak to action, not just noise.
That makes sense. Give me a concrete walkthrough. I need 20 marketing campaign concepts for a small coffee brand. Walk me through those 3 layers.
Start with categories: seasonal hooks, loyalty incentives, community events, and content series. For seasonal hooks, brainstorm 5. A first sip photo contest in spring, limited edition winter blend story, Valentine's pairing for 2, summer cold brew pop-up, back-to-school study bundles. For loyalty, a punch card revival, members-only tasting sessions, surprise and delight mailers, referral credits, coffee as a service subscription teaser. For community, partner with a local bakery, sponsor a poetry night, latte art class, volunteer cafe clean morning, kiosk at the farmer's market. For content, barista diary videos, origins mini doc, coffee myths debunked, micro recipes, behind the beans sourcing notes. That's 20, and each is specific enough to act on.
Nice. I can almost smell the espresso. But here's a practical pain. Quantity is great, yet we often struggle to pick the best ones. How do you prioritize 20 down to the top 3 to try?
Score them. Use 4 simple criteria: impact, ease, cost, and brand fit. Rate each idea 1 to 5 on those axes, then multiply or sum depending on your preference. Impact and ease together are powerful. High impact, low effort wins. Also factor short-term versus long-term. Some ideas build brand equity slowly, others drive immediate sales.
So it's a bit like triage. Any tricks to avoid bias when scoring? You know, the shiny object syndrome?
Yes, invite a devil's advocate. A quick role switch where you argue against your favorite idea for 5 minutes. Or use a blind vote with 2 colleagues, stripping idea authorship to reduce attachment. And always run a tiny experiment, a landing page or simple social post to test response before full commitment.
That experimental mindset seems crucial. Now let's zoom out. Why 20 rather than 10 or 50? Is there a psychology behind that number?
Psychologically, it balances cognitive load and novelty. 10 often lands in the realm of the obvious, the top-of-mind answers. 50 is overwhelming and tends to generate lower quality noise. 20 sits in the sweet spot. It forces deeper thinking without infinite overwhelm. There's also a creative constraint principle. Constraints spur creativity.
Constraints as creativity fuel. I love that. You mentioned techniques like categories. What other idea generation tools work well for reaching 20?
Several. Scamper is classic. Substitute, combine, adapt, modify, put to another use, eliminate, reverse. Run an idea through those prompts to spin new variants. Then there's role storming. Imagine your idea from the perspective of a child, a skeptic, a celebrity, or an AI. Forced connections work too. Pick 2 random words and force a concept that ties them to your topic.
Forced connections sound fun. Can you give an example using two random words and a product idea?
Sure, take umbrella and playlist for a productivity app. That could become rainy day modes. App feature that curates short focus playlists and micro tasks for rainy weather, helping people embrace slower productivity. It's quirky, but could be a niche hook.
That's clever. What about avoiding repetition? Sometimes when I generate lists, everything sounds the same. How do you ensure real variety?
Use perspective shifts. For every idea, write it from a different stakeholder: customer, competitor, investor, support agent. Also vary the level of abstraction: tactical, a single email subject line, versus strategic, a quarterly campaign. And constrain format. Ask for 5 headlines, 5 product tweaks, 5 partnership ideas, 5 experiments. That forces different thinking muscles.
Okay, so categories plus perspectives plus format changes. What about using data? Can metrics guide the creative list without killing spontaneity?
Data should inform, not prescribe. Start with a data snapshot: best performing channels, peak times, customer segments. Use that to bias ideation, not to kill wild ideas. For example, if Instagram performs best, ensure some ideas target short-form visual content, but keep a few riskier ideas that test new territory.
You've mentioned examples and techniques. Do you have a short success story where a list of 20 changed the game?
Yes, a local bookstore needed to increase weekend foot traffic. They asked a team to produce 20 event concepts in a day. One idea: micro readings at midnight, sounded odd but was cheap and playful. They ran it as a pop-up paired with a late-night indie band, and it became a monthly hit, turning casual browsers into loyal customers. The list made room for that outlier.
That's a great payoff. Let's bring in the meta level. Making lists of 20 is a habit. What routines help keep this productive over time?
Set a micro sprint, a weekly 20-minute session where you produce 20 quick ideas on a chosen topic. Limit editing. The aim is speed. Keep a shared repository. At month end, pick the top 5 experiments from the pool. Also schedule recurring idea audits. What worked, what failed, what surprised you?
And how do you handle burnout from constant ideation? 20. Every week sounds intense.
Rotate domains. Alternate heavy idea weeks with execution weeks. Use collaborative sessions. Bouncing ideas off others renews energy. And treat certain lists as disposable. Some ideas are roadkill. That's okay. The value is in the pipeline, not every item.
Before we wrap, any philosophical or surprising questions that listeners should chew on about list making?
2. First, are we generating ideas to impress ourselves or to change the world? That shifts the criteria. Second, what does scarcity of ideas reveal about the constraints we accept? Sometimes the problem isn't lack of ideas, it's lack of freedom to act on them.
Those are weighty. Last practical tips. Quick fire, actionable, for listeners who want to try this right now.
1. Set a 20-minute timer and make 20 ideas for one narrow challenge. 2. Use one constraint, a budget or channel, to force creativity. 3. Pick a champion for your top 3 ideas and launch a tiny test within a week. 4. Keep the list visible. A living document beats buried notes.
Perfect. To close, sum up the heart of this. Why commit to lists of 20 as a habit?
Because 20 forces you past the obvious into the interesting. It balances rigor and play, encourages experimentation, and builds a living pipeline of potential. It's not about quantity for vanity. It's about creating enough varied choices to find the few that actually move you forward.
Great wrap. One last nudge for listeners. What should they try this afternoon?
Pick a problem. Anything. How to get one more customer this week, or titles for a podcast episode. Set a timer, create 20 ideas, then pick one to test and one to shelve for later. Small experiments beat perfect plans.
Love it. Thanks for the clear playbook and the espresso-inspired examples. That sense of momentum, 20 at a time, feels energizing.
My pleasure. Go make a messy, brilliant list. The good stuff hides in the middle.